Hi everybody, I thought I would try to do a tutorial for you today on Adobe Audition multi-track editing, or session editing as it's also called. And there are plenty of these out on the internet that you can find on your own and that you might like better than mine for sure. And mine is not going to be all encompassing, but it'll be what you need for working on your podcast. So I just wanted to try this in Zoom and with screen share and see if I could capture my screen and just walk you through a few things. So I'm going to use a session that I actually created back in November. Sorry, not November. Got my semesters mixed up. But back when we were working on the This I Believe project, and I wanted to put those together in a sequence, and so we could play those in class and just kind of have a produced sequence. So what we're looking at right now is my desktop, and I created a folder here which I also backed up on an external drive. And I put everybody's essays in here. And so from there I created a multi-track session in Adobe Audition. And I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So here's the layout. And this has things in it because this is actually the session that I worked on. Over here we have a window, and if you click anywhere in the window, it puts a blue line around it so you can really look at it and work in that window. This is where the clips are. And so I imported those clips from another location. So either the RTV server, my drive, or my desktop, wherever I had saved them. And I made sure that they were named before they went in there, so they're easy to find. So you can kind of see your names in there. You scroll through that. Okay, and then if we take a look over here, we have our editing area. Adobe Audition has two main layouts. Multi-track, which is what this is. You can see track 1, track 2, track 3, and it actually goes on to like track 6, and you can even add more tracks. I didn't happen to need that many. I really only needed track 1 and 2. Something for my voice, something for your voice, and then a second track for the music. That's probably about what you're going to look at for your podcast. You might do 3 tracks. You can do whatever you want. The other way is waveform. So that's when you take basically an individual clip and you're looking at it close up, and you can edit that clip, or you can edit it in multi-track by double clicking it, pushes it back over to waveform. You can look at it really closely and then just push it back to multi-track. Okay, so then down below we have levels. So if I hit the space bar and play this, or hit the play button here, I'm going to hit the space bar.
I believe in the power of grandma. Believe that no matter your past,
you can see that wherever this blue playhead is, that's where it's going to start. So if I want to go back to the beginning and just drag this back.
I believe.
Okay. We're looking at the meter here. We want to be between -12 and -6 decibels. If it's not, you can bring it up by pulling up the track level or the clip level. We'll get to that in a little bit. So to save anything that you've been working on, Control S. Okay, and I'm going to close out of this, and I'm going to open up a brand new project, or create a brand new project in Adobe Audition. So we have our layout, and you can see that there are no clips in there. There's nothing in the editor. We just haven't done anything yet. So let's bring something in. So we're going to actually go right here in this window, and we'll go to New File. But before I do that, I want to click on Media Browser. And you can see that it's showing you all of your available drives. So I have an external drive plugged in. If I'm on the network, which I'm not right now because I'm at home, and I had mapped the drive, the RTV server would be there. If you're doing this at the library, by the way, you should see your student drive, and that's hopefully where your clips are, or you have an external drive plugged into it. So you would browse out to wherever your files are. So I'm going to go new multi-track session, first of all. So I'm going to create a new session. And let's call this April 13, just because that's today. And the folder location, it tries to go to the C drive by default, but you probably don't want that because when you log off that computer, you don't want to lose your work. So you need to make that, if you have an external drive, whatever that is, RTV, whatever, but probably not the C drive. So I'm going to go out to this, and actually I'll go to my, I'm going to do it a little differently just because I can get there faster. I'm going to go to my desktop, and that's where I have this, I believe. So I'll select that folder. That'll be my working folder. So just know that normally I would do that on an external drive, and you should. You don't have to change any of this. That's kind of getting more advanced. So just say okay. All right, now you can see your tracks 1, 2, 3. You can actually make these smaller or larger and see more of them. So you can adjust your workspace, but I really probably am just using 1, 2, and 3. So let's go get some clips. So we're going to highlight this window by just clicking on it. And then we're going to go to import file. And I showed you where those files were. They were out here in this folder. So how about if I just grab 3 of these, hit open, and they'll start loading right here. Now, no matter what I do to them in this application, it's not going to destroy the original file. Those are out there on your server, on your hard drive, on your external drive. This is just a file link, a pathway. So let's say, hey, I know that I want a music track for my podcast, and I found some royalty-free music through content creators on YouTube, or I got in touch with Professor Edens and she sent me some stuff because I told her I wanted whatever, this kind of music, and she sent me something. So I'm going to put that in here. So I know that I've got some in my downloads. So I'm going to go to import file, and I'll go to my downloads, and I'm going to use this one right here, and it's loading it. Okay, now all my assets are right here. And maybe I even made an intro for this. So let's just use one of my old ones, just kind of a pretend one. The one that we did for the radio shows that we did earlier in the semester. We had Luke Morrill do his voice, his great voice for us. So let's go out here. And got those in this folder. And Spring 2020 and radio production, project radio. And here is an intro. So this was the mix down that I created. So let's put that in there. Okay, well, we would probably want our intro at the beginning, right? So we would grab that and we could drag it over, line it up right there. Sample rate does not match the session rate, blah, blah, blah. Click OK to make a copy of the file. Okay, sure. And it does its thing. Great. Now let's play it and see. So spacebar.
You're listening to Project Radio on KUOZ 100.5. Project Radio is hosted and produced by the radio and podcast.
Okay, so we remember that. Now we know that he talks a while here, and then we go back down to a low music bed. So that's probably going to be a good space to put in the first part of my podcast, which just pretend that it's this file right here. So I can take this whole file, drag it, and look at that big X. It's going, what are you wanting me to do? Are you wanting me to do a major fade over? No. How about if we put it right here on this next line? Easy peasy. Say okay. It's building it, converting it. All right, now let's go back just a little bit before that. Great. Okay, so we just did a simple adding a pre-made intro, which, by the way, I made the intro in this program. All I did was get him to say, Dean Morrill, I gave him a script, he recorded it on his phone, sent it to me. I imported that file, I imported some music, I imported a sound effect, and I just mixed them on these tracks. And then I adjusted the audio levels. So like right here, we might want to adjust Edwin's audio. So we can either do it here, or we can double click it and it opens it in the waveform monitor and we can see it even better. And we can just glide this over and then play it and see. Maybe a little too much. So I'm going to drift it back down a little bit. I can also type in values, but I usually just kind of use that volume control. Now, another nice thing about waveform, let's say this part right here, for whatever reason, we didn't want it. So you just park your playhead in between these two and then hold down on your left mouse key, drag it over to highlight it, and then just hit delete. Now I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to hit Control Z to put it back. And then just click anywhere, and that goes away. I could also mark a selection that I thought was too high. You just mark this little section right here, and then I could just adjust that volume. Okay. If I need to see this better, I can use the navigator up here and make it smaller, make it bigger, or I can go here for vertical and here for horizontal. So when I do that, I can get down to individual breaths, or if somebody coughed or stumbled on a word, something like that, I could easily surgically take that out by dragging over it and deleting it. Let's go back to multitrack. Now you can move this anywhere. You could have it start later. You can move it to another track. What if I didn't want all this music? I could come to the end of it, and you see you have that red handle. Pull this back. I could get rid of as much of it as I want, or put it back. If I do something to this that I don't like and I can't fix it, I can always select the clip. Sorry about that. Go back to multitrack. I can select the clip and I can delete the whole clip. And I can go and reload it here from the beginning, an original clip. But I don't want to do that, so Control Z. Then you can continue to add tracks if you need to. Let's see. So we've shown you creating this multi-session, importing clips, the difference between waveform and multi-track, the navigation bar and the zoom bar. Oh, if you want to make a panel full screen, so you want to just see it really, really well and not see something else, you can click on that panel just anywhere. And then in your upper left keyboard, right under the escape key is a swivelly line that's called the tilde key. You hit that and it'll make that panel full screen so you can see all the information. And then you just hit the tilde key again and it takes it away. Yeah, that's kind of the major just quick and easy thing I wanted to show you about using this to work with your audio. There are many, many tools in here. Razor tool, okay, so if I wanted to split a clip, cut something, I could put that razor in the two places, and then I could go back to my selection tool, click on that, and hit delete, and then I can right click and hit ripple delete, and it will put these clips together, kind of like magic. Let's see, let's try that again. Okay, or I could just grab a clip and drag it to that spot. And that's back to normal. Many effects, so you can repair things, you can attempt to repair things. Amplify, I mean, it's limitless. But we're just doing some of the basic stuff. And like I said, remember, we want your mix down to be between -12 and -6 dB. That means the whole thing. So you don't have places where your audio is really low. I could look at this and say, I know Edwin's, not picking on you, Edwin, but we just loaded your clip. This audio is going to be lower than this audio. So if I go back here and play this, between -12 and -9. If we take the playhead over and play this one, let's just solo this track. That's another thing. I can solo this, and that means I mute every other track. Look, we're at -15 to -12, -9, some in there. Might bring that up a little bit. Sorry, that's not it. You can do it right there. You don't want it in the red. Pull it back. There we go. There's also a feature in here called peak limiter that makes sure that all the peaks are the same. I'll let you explore that on your own, but I just wanted to give you some basics. So how do we get this out? And thanks for sticking with me through this tutorial as I'm kind of trying to do this on Zoom. All right, we're ready to export, and we know that our preferred for putting this on the web is going to be an MP3. It's not the best quality, but it's pretty good. It compresses it, so it's easy to work with. So you're going to go to, let's unsolo this actually. All right, so, and every once in a while I hit Control S, as in Susan, to save things. Okay, now export, go to File, Export, Multitrack Mixdown. In this case, I want the whole session. You could mix down individual clips. In this project, you're probably not really going to do that unless you've built your open and you want to export that. But even that is probably your entire session. So we're going to say entire session. And then it's going to ask us, okay, file name, yes. Automatically, it's trying to do it as a wave, trying to go to the C drive. So like I told you, you probably don't want to go to the C drive. You want to go to your student drive, the Z drive, I think it is, or to your own external drive, or to the RTV server if you're mapped to that. So you select where you want to go. Then let's do the format. Look at all these choices. This is awesome. But we want MP3. And then you're going to say OK. And it's working on it. And it's done. And then you just go retrieve that. So let's see where mine went. So mix down, entire session. Mine was going to the desktop, this I believe. So if I step out of this and I go into this I believe, it is right here. Let's check it. So that's all that beginning stuff. Let's take it over here. There is the podcast. Okay, so that is the basics for multi-session editing with Adobe. And let's say you were working on it one day and you didn't quite finish it that day. That is totally okay, because what you do is you just go up here and hit save as, and the format is the Audition session and the file name and where you're going to save it to, and you say okay, and then sure enough, here it is where I saved it to, and then I can open that back up and work on it the next day. Please let me know if you have any questions, if you're working on something, having any trouble. We can set up a Zoom meeting and we can share screens and we can work it out. So I hope this helps, and good luck with your podcasts.